welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolf. That's the Hall of Famer Chris Carter. This is
funny,
Nick Wright.
You are funny. Cece straight-laced all morning, relatively reserved, and 3 seconds after we start hearing the music in our ear, makes fun of Jenna, gives me a funny eye look. The whole nine. Good to see you this morning, C.
It's good. You know our strengths, you know our weaknesses, and you play both up and down to both of them at the exact same time. Thank you so much, Chris Carter. Much appreciated.
Trying to give you a little confidence, Jenna, before you head out there.
You look terrible. I hate that dress. Welcome to the show. It's going to be the best 3 hours ever. How was your weekend?
It was
Good
great.
Weekend?
It was great. Wife was out of town, so I got to spend time with my kids and watch a lot of basketball.
Okay.
So aside from the wife being gone, it was great.
In that order.
Weekend.
And
yep.
you, sir?
That means the kids watched a lot of basketball.
Right.
I ordered a lot of takeout.
Oh, every night, man. Every night. I don't even know if the fridge opened.
Oh, that's
a lot of delivery, though.
so
it
healthy.
happens. Yeah.
Speaking of kids watching basketball, I know Nick's adorable 4-year-old Deanna already knows about LeBron James and how goat he is. But when my 4-year-old walks into the room after hearing screaming watching the game and asks if LeBron did something great, you know LeBron did something great, because over the weekend, LeBron did something great. Game 3, Cavs-Raptors, that's where we're starting this morning. LeBron James had 38 points, including a fadeaway, falling away, off balance, oh my goodness, buzzer-beating jumper for the win to put Cleveland up a very, very commanding 3-0 over the Toronto Raptors. Let's hear from LeBron James after that game.
The level of difficulty of that shot, it is very difficult. Don't try it at home. I live for those moments. I think I was just, I don't know. I was, like I told y'all in the Indiana series, that mental clock of being a kid and just kind of just telling myself 3, 2, 1, and making the noise of the net, that sound. I've been doing that since I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, maybe even before that. There's a picture floating around of me besides a little Tykes hoop with a saggy pamper on. And I probably was doing it back then, all the way up until now, being 33. So it's not things that you dream about, that you get those opportunities, and I've been fortunate enough to get a handful of those in some of the biggest moments, in my career.
This was LeBron James' 5th career postseason buzzer beater, the second of these playoffs. It seemed like we went a long stretch without seeing any, and now all of a sudden we go games where we see so many. How much of this series has changed your opinion, CeCe, of how good this Cavaliers team is, just in the last couple weeks?
Well, I had to change my opinion. I didn't think they would make it to the finals, to the NBA finals. I thought Philadelphia, when they were all jockeying for position when they started the playoffs, I thought Philadelphia was going to be better than them. I thought this was going to be the year that Cleveland, not because of LeBron James, but because of the supporting cast, the lack of continuity, the lack of court time this team has spent, the abbreviated seasons that they've had, 4 different ones. They had 3 different ones during the season, but they had no training camp. But that 7-game series against the Pacers has galvanized this roster where they are playing, I would say, the best pressure-packed basketball, because they played a great month to 45 days of basketball where they had a tremendous record. I think they won 19 of 21.
Yep.
And so you can say, yes, they did play, but in doing that, could they beat the quality teams out there? And I think that in looking at Toronto, and Nick, you pointed out this weekend when you and I were talking, was they're the second-best team. They got the second-best record in the NBA this year, even a better record than Golden State. Now, that's very impressive. We know Houston has the best record, but to say a team, because any team that had a better record than Golden State, you would give them a certain amount of respect for what they're doing. But Kevin Love finding his game, the lineup changes that they've gone to, they have made me change my opinion that, yes, the Cavs can get to the finals. Yes, and seeing what's going on in the other bracket where Boston is ahead of Philadelphia 3-0. Yes, I've changed my opinion. It's based on what I've seen, and the Cavs have earned. They've made me. They've made me change my opinion.
I mean, this probably isn't a shock to people who watch the show. My opinion hasn't changed because I had either what's called faith or what some folks have called blind faith that this is what the team would look like around this time of year. I did not expect them to struggle as much with Indy as they did, but even after struggling with Indy, I did not think Toronto could match up with them at all. At the beginning of the year, the midway point of the year, and heading into the postseason, if you ask me, what do I think about the Cavs? I would have said they will make the NBA Finals and be a heavy underdog against either Houston or Golden State. Right now, sitting here today, they will make the NBA Finals and be either a heavy underdog against either Golden State or Houston. But what I didn't see coming was all of a sudden this team gelling the way it has. And it's really, when I say all of a sudden, it is just 3 games. Because they didn't gel at any point in the Pacers series. We were excited about a 3-minute stretch of basketball at the start of the 4th quarter of Game 7.
Right, but you were excited because you said that the Pacers, that the way they play, that they beat the Cavs 3 out of 4 during the regular season, they match up well with them. It's one of those kind of things. It's maybe not necessarily on paper, but they give the Cavs problems. And you said the way the bracket is coming out, Toronto was going to be a godsend for the Cavs in the semifinals.
Even though they won 59 games, and I'm not one of the people calling them the baby dinosaurs. I'm not saying Toronto's a bad team, a fraud of a team. I don't believe any of those things. And while they had the 2nd best record, I wouldn't call them the 2nd best team, and neither would you. But I would have called them the 3rd best team this year. They were the 3rd best team all year long. Houston, Golden State, and then Toronto. But what this series also is going to do is give the Cavs, and most importantly LeBron, rest. They are going to have a week off, nearly a week off, going into the next round. Now, the Celtics might as well, but it's more important for Cleveland.
Sure.
LeBron playing now, he's played 92 games, or 91 games, pardon me, 42 minutes a game in the postseason. And the one thing that was overlooked and underrated in the Pacers series was not having George Hill for 3.5 games.
Yes.
Now that they have an actual point guard, Jordan Clarkson barely has to play. Calderon doesn't play at all. They don't have to lean on Rodney Hood for any type of shot making. Now what you're seeing is the 5 guys who were on the finals last year, plus Jeff Green, plus George Hill, and you have a 7-man rotation that you believe in.
2 things. One, why do I always bet against you and then kick myself the next morning? But more importantly, and one that we can actually discuss on the show, why do you think, after what you saw and how you saw the Cavs play the Pacers and how the Pacers took them all the way, I mean, like, just ripped them to the core. They were exhausted after that series and barely won. Did you think they were going to be a great matchup for Toronto? Did you think they'd have no problem with Toronto? You said they wouldn't lose another game, basically.
Until the Eastern Conference Finals. Listen, some of it's matchups. Some of it, the Pacers have more bodies to throw at you. Another is that the Pacers had every reason to change what they did in the regular season. We're going to pick LeBron up 90 feet. We're going to do drastic measures.
But the Raptors wouldn't?
No, because when you're the favorite, when you have home court, when you won 59 games, I think their mindset was, we're going to do what we do. We're going to play Raptors basketball, and LeBron wouldn't allow it to work.
To me, the only difference between what's going on now, Kevin Love and the role players playing better, but the Pacers had a finisher in Victor Oladipo. He was a finisher, and the Raptors don't have a finisher. If the Raptors had a finisher, it could be 2-1. It could be 1-2. Like, let's not forget what happened in game number 1. Let's not forget LeBron just had another buzzer beater. But that was without Toronto's star, not playing the last 14 minutes. So if Toronto had a better closing method or a better closer, the way Cleveland does, but I still have more confidence. So this is not a series that all of a sudden, once it started, Cleveland started playing like they were 2 years ago. No, this has been a highly contested series. The game number 2 got away from them, and that I believe was Cleveland's best basketball that they played this postseason.
And it looked like they were following that up in game 3 until the 4th quarter.
Yes.
When Cleveland, here's an underrated thing about Cleveland.
7 quarters, Cleveland played spectacular basketball.
Absolutely. But here's an underrated thing about Cleveland that I haven't heard anyone mention. They are an NBA all-time record, 43-1 when leading after 3 quarters. This is a team that has been the best if they have a lead, they've been the best finishing team we've ever seen. You then add to it this new layer that LeBron has added, which is there any player in the league you'd rather have with the ball in his hands at the end of a game? We've gone from doubting LeBron in clutch situations to, with 8 seconds left, when Onuabi, hit that 3, Did anyone think LeBron wasn't going to get a good look or wasn't going to make the shot? So the teams had confidence as a whole. If we're leading after 3, we can win. Like a team with a great closer in baseball. Lead after 7, the game's over. Set a man closer. And then you have LeBron, who at the end of games is playing better than he's ever played. And you have a team that right now, everyone knows their role. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do. You have a top 2, I'm being kind, all-time player playing at the peak of his powers. And what you have is a team that is rolling through a 59-win, fully healthy Raptors team.
And most importantly, if they can close it out tonight, they do have more time to actually rest. So 143-year-old LeBron James can rest his body. We have Carlos Boozer joining us a little bit later. We're going to talk about much more about this and that clutch shot by LeBron. But coming up, let's talk some football. Why is Ben Roethlisberger taking shots at his new teammates? The guy barely has been fitted for a uniform. It's next on First Things First.
Man.
Ben could be a little bit like my partner.
Whoa,
Which
whoa,
one?
whoa.
Which one?
Gordon has just one day to save restaurants on the brink of disaster.